This video is not for kids. Go do your homework.
Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how I like to rehab American Girl doll hair. I got a really cute number 11, and even though the doll herself was in pretty good condition, her hair had seen better days. So I'm going to kind of show you my method for taking a doll that's been kind of played with fairly aggressively, and how we can take her hair and basically restore it to almost factory perfect. And the great news about this is I'm going to show you how to do it without using any chemicals or products or anything. We're going to just use steam and a brush basically. So I can't wait to show you this method because it's sort of one that I picked up some methods here and there from other people, and this is kind of how I like to do things, and I think it produces really great results, and they're long-lasting results. So anyway, let's hop up to the studio and get started. All right, and here's the before, and as you can see, her hair is really the worst part about her, and it's even not in that terrible of shape. It's just more that it's really frizzy. A lot of people would refer to this as dry, but I mean, I feel like as far as like Kanekalon hair goes, it's more an issue of it being kind of crimped than it is of it being dry. But yeah, you can see here, again, front and back, not looking too great, but we're going to be able to fix this pretty well, as you're about to see. So the first step is to actually just basically set her down and get her head taken off. This is one of the newer American Girl dolls, and in fact, I believe this is a Mattel manufactured one. So the neck strings on these are actually a lot easier to take off because the rope that basically the neck string is made out of has a really tight weave to it, so it's actually really easy to just kind of unknot and take off. A lot of the older ones, especially like white body dolls, are really difficult to get that neck string untied, but this wasn't too bad. So yeah, now that our head's off, we are able to go ahead and set the body aside, and we will begin sort of like the preliminary work on her hair. But the first thing I like to do, actually, I'm just going to go ahead and try and like quickly clean her face off. She wasn't terribly dirty, but it's probably best to go ahead and get excess dirt off of her vinyl, just so that in case her like the vinyl actually gets wet, no dirt's going to run down into her hair. So yeah, I just want to give her a quick clean just so she's ready to have her hair done. And just a reminder, I am using a magic eraser on this, but I just want to make it clear that as I'm doing this, I am not rubbing super vigorously over her like lips and her eyebrows. That will take the paint off, and so even though I'm moving kind of quickly, I'm not pressing really hard. I'm just trying to give like a light touch just so I can get the top layer of dirt off without removing any of that paint. And then I'm quickly just going to wipe her dry with a paper towel, and that'll be like one more final check just to make sure that all the excess dirt is off. All right, and now her head's clean. Okay, step number one, this is actually going to not require the initial phase of detangling her hair. Her hair didn't actually have a lot of tangles in it, which is really good because sometimes you can get dolls and their hair is so tangly, you basically have to go through a whole initial step before you can do this and get all the tangles out. So if you have a doll whose hair is really tangly, I would suggest getting it detangled before doing this step. But all I'm doing here is just making sure it's, if there's anything that might be possibly tangled at all, I want to just be sure that I can run a brush easily through this hair without too much resistance. So you'll see here, I'm just kind of rotating her head and just running an American Girl wire wig brush through it. And then once I've got all the tangles out of it, what I'm just doing here is I'm trying to fan out her hair so that it has as much surface area as possible exposed. So I just want like a thin layer of hair over this towel. So now I'm just going to fill up my steamer with water, and actually really quick, I'm going to leave a link to this steamer in the description of this video. This has been by far the best tool I've found in taming American Girl hair. Like, I swear by this steamer. So yeah, I'll put the link in Amazon, and if you click the link, I will actually get a commission if you purchase this within 24 hours, and that would be awesome because I love money. But anyway, what I'm doing here is I'm going through the ends basically. The very first thing I want to do is just try and get those ends to not be as crimped. I want them to be as straight as possible. And this is actually going to remove her original curl, even though not much of it was left to begin with. So we are actually going to fully straighten her hair, and then we're going to reset it with curlers. So the first step is to get this hair as pin straight as possible. And when I do this, I like to start at the ends of the hair and then like work my way towards the roots. So I just want to try and make sure that the ends are as straight and tangle free as possible. You want to make sure that the steamer is not pointed at their face or their eyes because the steam can actually give them silver eye. And even though this is a newer one and you don't typically see silver eye in newer American Girl dolls, I would still be really cautious about putting any steam at her face at all, just because even if it doesn't cause silver eye, it could mess up her eyelashes. So yeah, I just want to be really clear about that. When you're using a steamer, keep the steam away from the doll's face. And again, I'm just going through and brushing as I'm going. This is also helping kind of straighten the hairs a little bit too, because they're going to be really hot when using the steamer. So as they are like warmed up, I'm trying to run the brush through the hair because that's going to further like relax any like crimping at the end of that hair. The brush is going to help kind of pull that out and straighten it. And you're going to have to do several passes with this too. You're not going to really be able to get it all in one go, but you want to hold the steamer as close to the hair without touching as possible, just to get it as hot as you can. Yeah, and just keep doing several passes until you can get a brush through the ends of the hair with no problem, and it just looks as pin straight as possible. That's, again, I can't stress this enough. You want this hair to be really pin straight so that when we go to reset it, you're working from a blank slate. And this is actually starting to look pretty good. And you'll see here, my final step with this is I'm actually coming back in with a toothbrush. Now that I know this hair is completely tangle free and it's starting to get a lot straighter, when you go back in with a toothbrush with those really fine bristles, what that's going to do is actually start pulling that hair just a little bit more and making those ends that much straighter. So I would suggest not skipping this step because it's really important, I think, in getting those ends just, like I said, really, really, really straight. All right, and now I've got her all laid back here on her back again and just doing one more final pass on the top part of this hair with a toothbrush. And again, because this doll's hair was in pretty good shape, I think the steam is going to do a pretty good job from the outside. So I'm not going to go layer by layer and weft by weft with this hair. I do think with enough steam on the top layer of her hair, this is going to look good, and it's going to be sure that she still has her volume. That's one of the reasons I quit using a flat iron a while back, is I felt like the flat iron was taking out so much volume of the doll's hair, whereas the steamer, I think, added just the right amount of heat to relax it without really pulling those fibers tight and stretching them and making the hair thinner. So this is definitely the way to do it. Like I said, I swear by this. And again here now you can see me going back in more on the top layers of her hair. We're no longer working on the ends as much anymore. I'm actually going on this top layer because, again, it was really kind of overly wavy. And for an American Girl Today doll, you really want one that has really silky, soft, smooth hair. At least for a number 11 anyway. Her hair is very smooth. So you'll see that I'm just going back over the top layer and trying to make sure it's really, really pin straight at this point. And again here, I'm just going through and making sure that she doesn't have any bangs that are sort of pushed back into the main part of her hair. That's one thing you also want to be really careful of, because if you get bangs that are basically part of the main, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe this, but I guess if the bangs are pushed in the wrong location and you get steam on them, those bangs are going to lose their curl. And even though they don't look super curly, these bangs do have sort of a wave and a direction and a curl to them. And if it looks good on your doll, like it does this one, you don't want to add any of that heat or steam, because it's going to basically mean you need to reset your doll's bangs, and you really don't want to do that if you don't have to, so I try and avoid it. All right, and again, now that we've got her bangs kind of separated, I've put her on a little rig that I've made, and it's essentially just a fat dowel that's basically inset into a 2x4. So I basically just have a stand that I can put the doll's head on and kind of manipulate the head and do it in the direction that I want. I've seen people do all sorts of different things, but this kind of works for me. And you can basically make this like from materials at a hardware store for just a few bucks, and I've been using it for like years now, and it's been a really great asset in doll restoration. But anyway, now that we've got her vertical, again, I'm going back through with this toothbrush and the steamer just to be sure that those top layers are really, really straight. Again, you're going to hear me say the word straight like a million times in this video. Yeah, it's just a reminder that we're trying to get this hair as much of a blank canvas as possible so that we can set it in the new style that we're going to do in just a sec. Like I said, this was my first time making an attempt filming something like this, and I did this weeks ago as I was still trying to figure everything out. So hopefully this is the last time a video looks like this and the quality will be better, but I think you're going to get the gist. So I won't apologize a million times for like the ugly backdrop and you like not getting a good vantage point the entire time. I do think this is a good enough idea so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So hopefully this works for you. All right, and like I said, my hand is completely in the way for a lot of this, but what I'm doing here is the top of her hair kind of had sort of like a, I don't know, it was almost like a cowlick, and sometimes that will happen is some of that hair at the top of their head will just kind of be, and it's almost like there's a big bump on the top of their head, and if you just put steam directly on the top of that and get it really, really hot, you can use a toothbrush to kind of smooth it back down, and it works really great. All right, and now that we've gotten her hair fully pin straight and basically ready to be restyled, what I'm going to be doing is just doing her hair section by section, and I'm going to say this is probably like an inch and a half section. And again, this is specifically for like an American Girl of today, or I guess even the like once they changed to like Just Like You and Truly Me, they still had dolls with this hairstyle. But this is obviously specific to this hairstyle, but we're just going to want to curl the ends basically. It's basically pin straight from the scalp all the way to basically a few inches from the ends, and it just has a really neat round curl at the bottom. So what I'm doing is using basically, they're very cheap curlers, but they work amazingly well. Again, I'll put the link to where you can buy them on Amazon. You can buy these exact ones and they work great. But yeah, I'm basically crimping the ends of the hair in this in the curler, and it has I'm not a hairdresser. I wish I knew the better terms for this, but basically I think these are actually bang curlers, but we've got basically like an outer layer of this curler, and it crimps the hair in place, and it's such a great tool. But anyway, just to tell you what I'm doing really quickly, I've got that crimped into the curler, and I'm just, again, going in with my steamer and making sure that that's getting like really hot and steamy and wet, and that sounds terrible, but that's what's happening. And I've actually got my hemostats holding the curl just so I don't burn my hands, because this is obviously really, really hot. But once you get that the ends like really hot, what's going to happen is that's going to basically reloosen the fibers and kind of teach them, like basically retrain their memory when it cools off. So basically you want to get it really hot in the correct position and then wait for it to be cool before you actually take the curler out, because the cooling is actually what's setting this new hairstyle in. And as you can see, once I forgot to mute my phone, sorry. Anyway, now that my phone's muted, you can see basically like I've let that completely cool by basically blowing on it. And then once it's cool, I just kind of, I wouldn't say pop the curler out. You actually want to kind of twist the curl, like twist the curler in the direction of the curl as you're pulling it out. And that really just kind of helps set that curl even further. And it should stay, even if it's like a little bit damp, that's okay. These curls actually are not super duper tight, so it's okay if you like lose a little bit of that curl. I think that's still acceptable for a factory restore. So as you can see, I'm just grabbing a new section and doing basically the same thing I did for that first section that I showed you. Again, brushing the hair out, making sure that it's there are no tangles, wrapping it around the curler, crimping it in with the outer layer of the curler, holding it with my hemostat so that I'm not burning my hands. And also, yeah, I guess right here, I'm making sure that the section that I did previously, you want to kind of get that out of the way as well, because if that gets steamy, you're going to lose the curl. So you want to try and keep that out of the way as you're working along the hair. So I really try and keep everything pinned back so that the section that I'm working on is isolated. So yeah, again, just going through with the steam, getting it really hot, and then once I'm convinced that it's really, really hot, just letting it cool for a minute. And again, it's fine to blow on the hair if you want. That will kind of help cool it off. But just give it a second to kind of cool off, and then, yeah, just remove the curler and you have your next section done. Also, one of the things you want to be mindful of too is when you're doing the curl, You want to try and kind of pull the hair a little bit taut. And like I said, like kind of winding it in the direction of the curl. That will kind of help prevent getting a crease in the hair where basically it's coming out of the curler. But if that happens, it's okay. I'm going to kind of show you how we fix that at the end if there is a little bit of a crease there. Because as you can see here, there's a crease there, but we're going to get rid of it. It's not a huge deal. But the more you kind of pull that hair taut, while you're doing this, the less likely you are to have a crease like that. And if you do get one, it won't be as deep. And as you can see here, I'm just kind of comparing, making sure I'm doing a good job with this. And again, this is not the final time we're touching this hair. It's okay that these sections are curled just slightly differently, and there's a little bit of a crease here and there. I'm really just trying to make sure that my curling job is pretty good, that I'm getting the overall vibe of what I'm trying to achieve. And again, I cut away. I didn't show you me doing every single section, especially because I just didn't do a good job filming this. But I think it would also be really boring to watch me do this 100 times. But all in all, I think I did about 8 sections of her hair to do all this. And it looks pretty good. And like, as you can see here, it's not perfect yet. You can see that there are a few kinks here and there. But what I am doing once all the sections are done is I'm basically going back through and brushing her hair, because what I'm trying to do is blend all the sections together, and that will kind of let me know where I'm at with this hairstyle if I need to go back and redo anything. So yeah, that will really kind of help highlight any sections that are a little bit weird. And as you can see, like looking at her from the front, I ended up with a really big kink. It's on her right, but if you look to the left, you can kind of see a kink in her hair. Again, not a huge deal. I'm going to go back and fix this in the end. So yeah, I'm coming in, I'm just adding a little bit of water to her hair, just so her hair doesn't get really frizzy as I brush it. Another thing you want to do is just kind of brush it and like cross directionally. So maybe grab it at her scalp and kind of bring it at a 45-degree angle and then brush it in the opposite direction. That will again kind of help blend all the hair together. And as you can see here, where we had that big kink in the front, I'm basically just going in and I'm trying to hit it with the steamer right where the kink is, and not trying to hit the bottom of the curl as much, but really just kind of do a quick little blast with the steamer anywhere there's like a line, or if, you know, it just didn't curl quite correctly. That steam can really kind of help loosen that out, and it'll help kind of blend that section in with the rest of it. And again, you want to be really careful. You can burn your hands if this hair gets hot enough. I've gotten kind of good at avoiding my hand, but yeah, what you can see me doing here, that is kind of a burn risk. So I would say maybe don't do that. But yeah, all of this extra little steaming at the end is really kind of help relaxing anywhere that I made a little error here or there. But as you can see, it's starting to loosen up and looking a little bit more perfect. And yeah, if you're scared of burning your hand, you can grab the hemostats if you have them, and just grab them sort of below where the like the crease is, and just kind of pull on the hair a little bit. That tension will really kind of help release that as you're steaming it. All right, and again, I'm just sort of rotating her head and having a look at it from all angles and just making sure that the curl looks correct from all angles. And again, just anywhere where I think there might be another crease, just I'm going in and hitting it with a steam just really quickly to try and loosen it up. And again, this is sort of specific to this doll, but she had some hairs that were just kind of frizzy, sort of up around the scalp. And so I'm going in and getting really close to them and getting them as hot as possible. Sorry, my voice is cracking because I'm talking so much. But I'm trying to get them as hot as possible so I can basically just take the toothbrush and again, try and like pull and brush and straighten out all that frizziness. All right, I'm pretty much happy with this. You can kind of see the right part of her hair. Again, you're looking to the left, but it's her right. Is a little bit, like the curl loosened up a little bit when I was trying to go in and like loosen the crease that I put in her hair. But that's not a big deal. I actually believe I went and did this off camera from memory. Again, this was several weeks ago I did this. But off camera, I went and actually redid that curl just so that it was more symmetrical with the other side, which again, I think that's important in making a doll look as nice as you can. And again, I'm going in here, and this is one thing, I think some people would probably think this is a cardinal sin in American Girl doll restoration, but in this particular case, she just had like a few hairs that were a little bit too long for her bangs, and I went in and was very, very careful and just snipped. I'm talking like maybe 5 hairs off of there, just so they weren't going to get in her eyes and like, force her eyelids closed or anything. So again, I generally never cut doll hair, but every once in a while I might snip something just to clean it up, just so the doll looks a little bit nicer. So I didn't really take any length off by any means. It was just anywhere there was like a little stray hair, I went ahead and cut that off, just, so it looked a little bit neater. All right, so now it's time to sort of get her body cleaned up, and I won't show like too much of this process because I basically show it every time I do a doll rehab, and it's pretty straightforward. So all I'm going to do is just take a magic eraser and spritz it with water, and I'm going to clean all her limbs. Again, there's no super right or wrong way to do this. And I'm not particularly picky either with dolls that don't have white bodies because they can, like the torso can get a little bit wet and it's not a big deal. It usually doesn't leave spots in it. If you really wanted to be careful, you could wrap her body with like a plastic bag. But for this doll, it wasn't really necessary. She wasn't terribly dirty, so I wasn't worried about dirt transfer that much. And again, I wasn't really that worried about it getting wet either. This is so hilarious. As I'm sitting here, there's parts of this voiceover that I'm obviously gonna, or not the voiceover, but this rehab that I'm gonna cut out because, again, it's just, I don't need a 45-minute video of me cleaning like doll limbs. And I'm sitting here like checking eBay, trying to buy more dolls. I clearly have a problem. But yeah, as I always say, I do the fingers basically last out of all this because those little fingers always shred up my magic erasers. So that way, like I'm basically working with, the tail end of this magic eraser. So it's not as big of a deal if it gets kind of damaged. But yeah, inevitably, every time I like try and use a magic eraser on doll fingers, that magic eraser ends up in crumbles. All right, now she's all magic erased. So one final step I like to do, again, just sort of as like a final pass, is I like to just quickly spritz a paper towel and go back over her limbs just one more time. It kind of helps pick up any extra dirt that might have been left behind by the magic eraser. And in that same motion, I'm basically just kind of drying them off because I like them to be dry instead of just sitting there wet. Oh yeah, I forgot. I actually got a little bit crazy and went back through with the clean side of the magic eraser. Again, this is something I usually always do, but I didn't expect to do it this time. But I guess I'm a creature of habit, and yeah, just going back through with the clean magic eraser after you feel like you've gotten it really clean. Just I don't know. There's probably some OCD going on in my brain. I'm not totally sure, but I do like things to be really clean. So when in doubt, just clean it one more time, I guess. But yeah, as you can see, the magic eraser is coming up a lot cleaner, and it just gives me peace of mind. I know that she's going to be clean. Anytime clothes go on her, the clothes aren't going to get dirty. So I just always think it's worth the extra couple minutes to be sure. You can basically run a magic eraser across her limbs, and it comes out pure white. And again, just one more time with a paper towel to dry her off. And, she's looking pretty good. Her vinyl looks very matte and no major marks or anything. She has been played with, so there's probably like a tiny little thing here and there, but nothing major. She'll display great. All right, she's all clean and time to pop her head back on. And again, because this is, I believe, a Mattel-made doll, it's just so much easier to do all this stuff with the Mattel dolls because the neck string is easier. It's got this like darting in the back of the, I guess this is like upper back. Yeah, just so much easier to get her head on and tie these strings. And so, yeah, I just do a square knot, left over right, right over left. And she's no longer headless. So that concludes the rehab of this number 11. Doesn't she look great? All right, as you can see here, I think this looks pretty good. Is it 100% factory perfect? Probably not. I'm sure if you're a nitpicker, you can probably find, a thing here or there, but I'm really happy with the before and after of this. For me, I think this is a really great restoration. I think I got her hair pretty close to the original style, so I'm quite proud of this. And like I said, there are a lot of dolls that this style will work for. A lot of the dolls like numbers 1 through 20 in the American Girl of Today line, a lot of them had this hairstyle. So I think this is a really good skill to kind of put in your back pocket in case you ever get a doll that you've just been looking for forever and you finally get one and her hair just isn't exactly what you'd hoped. Hopefully this will help give you some insight on how to make her look a little bit more new again. And that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button, and if you're not already subscribed, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. I have a goal of getting to 1,000 subscribers, and I'm well on my way, and I would really appreciate it if you'd be part of that journey. If you want to keep watching more videos, I actually did a rehab on a 1986 Samantha doll, which is one of the rarest dolls there is in terms of American Girl, and if you want to watch that rehab, you can see it right here. And if you've already seen that, maybe you might like this video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Again, this was so much fun and I can't wait to do it again soon. But until next time, please take care of yourself and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.